think the development of full artificial intelligence would spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1 0 1 1 1 0 1 1 6 3 2 9 7.
Media doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
That's right. We're here to ask questions. Welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I am your host, Michael Strange. I am here with your co-host, Frank Pierce, and we would like to say hello to all of you who might also have troubled minds. As usual, we're recording this show live, so if you'd like to be part of the show, we prefer that you call the phone number 702-957-1037 or click the Discord link, which is right there on the top of the Facebook stream. From what I can see, it looks like we're having problems with the Facebook stream, so let me know if you guys are out there, and which I know you are because I can see you. Carl, Kimberly, Ernie, what's up? Thanks for showing up, guys. Carl gets first, but it says fetching video stream, so I'm not sure if that's just a glitch on my end or if it's something that's showing up on your guys on that side. So anyway, let me know. We can restart if necessary or whatever. So, all right. So if you're new, we're gonna do some news tonight. We're gonna talk about whatever. We got free for all topics, and we want to hear what you guys want to talk about. That's what this is about. This is why we do Tuesday. This is why we added the show, because our other shows are tight. We try and keep them one single narrative, sometimes two, and it's just easier to do it this way and kind of talk about the stuff that you guys want to talk about. So here we are doing this again. So this is a bonus show, and this will go on YouTube. And if you guys want access to this after the fact, what you can do is go to troubledminds.org and join Frank's Illuminati. That's the mailing list on the top right. And you'll be able to see this stuff. Still waiting for feedback on the stream if this is working. It still says fetching video stream as far as I can tell. So okay, let's wait for some feedback. But in the meantime, I'll ask, is stream working? Here we go. Let's see. All right. We're about to get there, I think. Fetching video stream. Technical difficulties or not? That is the question. Stream's working. All right. Carl says stream's working. Okay. Kimberly says it's working. All right. Fantastic. Let's do this. All right. So with that said, we're going to get to some news. We're going to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So if you want to call in, tell us a story, a ghost story. It's getting to be that time of the year where the ghosts and the goblins start coming out at night. So if you want to get into that, that's cool. We'll get into that soon, I'm sure, in the coming weeks. But for right now, first things first, ladies and gentlemen, your co-host, Frank Pierce.
Hello, I'm Frank Pierce, and we're back again doing another show, and I have to say I enjoy this. I enjoy looking through these news articles on a weekly basis and really digging into it, and perhaps reading more than I normally would, and putting the links together, making a network of all these things that seem to be going on. You really get a sense of what's going on in the world, and we got some good stories tonight about this burgeoning space race that seems to be going on, but we'll get into that, or we won't. Who knows? Maybe we'll get bogged down with UFO videos and government conspiracies, but that's the show. We'll just talk about whatever and have a good time doing it. So again, as my co-host said, if you have UFO videos, if you have ghost stories, if you have news articles about strange cryptozoological creatures, feel free to post them and we'll talk about them and we'll look into them, and who knows, maybe we'll do an entire show on it at a later date. Let's get into it. That's my intro.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so everybody says the stream's working. Thanks for showing up, guys. What do you want to talk about? We got all kinds of stuff. We picked out, just like Frank said, we got UFO videos and some other weird stuff, some other interesting things. But this show's about you, though. So if you guys have something particular you want to point out, a video you want to drop in there, a news article, anything like that, go ahead and drop it in the chat. We're watching the stream on Facebook and also the stream on YouTube. So if you'd like to be part of the show and drop something in, that's what we're going to talk about. But let's just get warmed up. Let's talk about some somethings. What do you want to kick it off with, Frank? Want me to pick one?
Yeah, no, I got a good one here to start off with. Let's open this Silent Opportunity Mars rover spotted from space, the photograph. So, as you know, there was a major dust storm on Mars, and the Opportunity rover, which relies on solar panels to get its energy, was covered in dust, and so it went dark. It went into a power-saving mode, went quiet, and they haven't received a signal from it as of yet. And they're still holding out hope that they'll get a signal back. Signal back from northern Canada, because some people think the rover's there. But yeah, so it's been covered in dust before, and it's cleared itself off. Some would say miraculously, some would say through alien intervention. There's a couple of photographs of that. But it's cleared itself off before, and it's restored power, and they've been able to communicate. And as of yet, this time around, there's no response. It's completely dead. However, one of the satellites orbiting Mars was able to snap a photograph of this rover to show it's still there. I'm guessing they're saying it's not destroyed. It's still in one piece. Although, why don't you tell me what you see in this photograph, and we'll talk about that.
The top photograph here? Okay. I see. Okay, so on the zoomed in version, if you look really closely, you see what looks to be a nondescript pinprick in the Martian landscape. That's what I see.
So this is, yeah, exactly. This is NASA playing their games again. You know, we see what looks like a face on Mars. No, it's not a face. It's pareidolia. You know, we're attributing faces and structures to objects that just have random properties. You know, we're seeing what look like rodents on Mars. Nah, it's just a rock. We're seeing, you know, spoons on Mars. A spoon on Mars, yes. Bottles on Mars, too. And all sorts of strange things. No, it's all pareidolia. But here, we have an excellent image from a NASA satellite that's showing a speck, and they're saying that's the rover. Come on now. There is no way to tell that the rover is intact. There's no way to tell if that's even the rover, and yet they're claiming it is. So this is more of NASA's mind games they're playing, is we see something on the rover images or on the satellite images, and no. We're ignorant slaves. We don't know what we're talking about. That's not a rat. That's not a spoon. That's not a pyramid. A face? No way. But this speck, that's the rover, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense to me, right?
Totally. I mean, that's where it stopped moving, right? So they know exactly where it's at. It's also interesting if you look at the thing, right? So it looks like the landscape is completely kind of like washed in sand. But for some reason, this little pinprick there, it looks like it's kind of dug its own hole, like it tried to dig its way out. You see what I'm seeing? It kind of looks like there is some kind of like little cave entrance or something going on there. But so what exactly is that thing sitting on top of a hill? Which doesn't make sense if it's a dust storm. Is it dug itself a hole that we can see it from space from? I don't know. What do you guys think? What does this look like?
I have no idea. You really can't tell, and that's the entire point, is NASA will take an image, and because they have the authority of God, it seems, they can say that this speck is the rover, this other speck on the moon is the lander. But no, this image is horrible, and you really couldn't tell what this is. And to top all that off, it looks like they drove this thing into a crevice of some sort. Like it seems on the left-hand and the right-hand side, there's elevation, and in the center it's much darker because it's perhaps down in the shadows. And so I think they drove this thing into like a hole, and they're going to let it die there. So we're going to win that bet.
Oh, yeah.
I bet that you're never going to hear from it again, and I force you to say the opposite. But yeah, this is more NASA's chicanery, because this makes no sense whatsoever.
No, hold on. Remember, the guy's going to come. He's going to dig it out, and he's going to dust it off. It's going to get charged up by the sun, and then it's going to start communicating. Come on. We established this. It's just a matter of time now. I mean, if it's in northern Canada, then it's easy enough, right? You send the guy out to clean it off. No problem.
They've had too many miraculous recoveries. It's happened too many times now where this thing gets... And we're not talking about cleaned off as in there's still some dust on it and just enough light is penetrating. We're talking someone took some, turtle wax to it with a buffer and shined the thing up like it was brand new. That's what this thing looked like post-dust storm. So they've been caught out too many times. There's too much fishy stuff going on. So I think it's dead this time around. They're not going to keep recovering it. Who knows? Who knows, though? But this is the rover, this picture we're seeing. Or so they say.
Or so they say. Okay, if you guys are just joining us, we're talking about whatever. We're talking about right now, the rover that was buried in sand from that colossal Martian dust storm that was apparently, planet-wide. But now NASA says we can see it. It's right there in that square that you can see. That's what we're looking at. But I don't know. It says there's 10 comments. I don't count 10, so I don't know if this is working for me. I'm going to refresh this and see if it kills it, so cross your fingers. Just a sec. So I'm not seeing comments right now. Hold on. Cross your fingers. Give me 5 seconds. Uh-oh. I think it's going to try and make me kill this page. All right. Let's do it. No, I don't know. It's going to kill the stream, right? We'll have to start over. I have no idea. Okay, anyway. Okay, so here's the deal. So if you guys want to your comments to be read, I don't know if they're showing up on Facebook. If anybody could just type some stuff in there, please, and we can tell. If not, what we'll do is we'll move all the comments over to YouTube and give all that duty to Frank, because that would be fantastic. just for.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Just for good times. Good times. Still says there's 11 comments. Okay, yep. So another comment happened. 12 comments. I don't see them popping. 13 comments. So people are typing. I'm not seeing them. Okay, I'm gonna refresh this sucker. So if this stream dies, we're still going on YouTube. Here, let's get the link real quick. I'll drop it in. So if the Facebook stream dies, just head over to YouTube and watch us there until I get this other one fired up. Where is that link?
Some brief technical difficulties, but yeah, we're going to get this going.
We're going to get this going. All right. This is a live show, right? We made the joke early on, like in the third show probably, that if you don't have technical difficulties at some point, then it's not a live show. So, okay, I'm putting this in. There we go. It's in the chat. Oh wait, that just fixed it. That just fixed it. Typing something and fixed it. So okay. I think we're good. All right. So okay, going up to read the comments here. the stuff that I missed. If they keep getting bugged, guys, head over to YouTube. I just linked it. Frank will read your comments there, so don't feel like we're leaving you out. But remember, we're having technical difficulties on Facebook. So, all right, here we go. So, Carl says UFOs. Yes. Kelly says good evening, everyone. What's up? What's up, Kelly? What's up, Carl? Kimberly says if you want to know what I think, well, I don't think the planets are solid in mass, but instead portals to other worlds. I don't trust NASA at all. Yeah, that's a good one. We've talked about that a little bit. If you have a literature or an article, if you want to link that, we can talk about that further. All right, we got tests, we got emojis, people typing because I asked them to type. Thank you for that. So I see it. All right, so I see 17 comments, and it ends at my link, so the YouTube link. So anyway, yeah, if you guys want to just avoid all this shenanigans, head over to YouTube. I dropped it on there. We're streaming there, and Frank will read your comments. So I think that's a little more fun, just to mix things up anyway. So, okay, so we're talking about the Opportunity rover, Mars, right? But, you know, NASA says this little pinprick is it. You know, we disagree. I mean, we're allowed to, right?
I'm surprised. Yeah, I think we're allowed to. I'm surprised they didn't give a better image. And as you zoom in, as you enhance, as you increase the detail, all you see where this rover is a raised middle finger just pointed back at us, because that's what I'm seeing.
Okay, maybe. I'm with you. Okay. All right. So more space news. So if you guys are just joining us, we're having technical difficulties on Facebook. So head over to YouTube. I linked it. Frank will read your comments there. So let's try it that way. But what I'm going to talk about, we
got a comment saying hello, Frank. So hello to you too, and I'll try to keep up.
There you go. All right. See, told you, Frank will read the comments. Okay. So. All right, so I'm going to go to Oumuamua here. So also reported from space.com. If you guys remember, months back, this was last October, this was a year ago, just before Stephen Hawking passed away, he was talking about Oumuamua. It was this cigar-shaped, what would you call it? Like an asteroid or just some kind of rock, some kind of something. And it was tumbling on 2 axes, if you recall, and which is not normal, and it was like a 10-to-1, 10 times longer than it was around. So it was kind of cigar-shaped and tumbling oddly. Well, now, one of the weird things about this, I'll see if they mention in this article here. I'm not so sure, but they said that as it came around Earth, it did like a close pass, and then it flew out, and when it got past, I think it was Jupiter, it accelerated and changed direction. So if you guys recall, that was a thing that was reported, and they were surprised by it. So there was some speculation that this thing might have been some kind of like probe from an extraterrestrial civilization that was actually you know, sending it to check out Earth, check us out and see what's going on down here. And we hit it with everything we had as far as you know, the standard technological things that we can scan it with, and there was a whole lot of nothing. We figured it was a rock, and that was kind of it. But here we go. Now this article says that now we may know which star it came from. Okay, so again, as reported by Space.com, a team of scientists has announced that they have made major progress on that second question, which is where did it come from, narrowing down the object's origins to just 4 stars. The research is based on data gathered in June that suggested Oumuamua wasn't just hurtling through space willy-nilly. Instead, it seemed like when the object was near the sun, it picked up a bit of extra speed, as if like a comet. It carried something like ice that could turn to water vapor and propel the object forward a little faster than usual. So if you guys were paying attention when we did this story probably 2, 3, 4 times maybe, and part of the weird thing about this is it was tumbling, and there was no sublimation like a comet would have. So you know, a deep space comet has ice, right? It's frozen because deep space is super cold. And when it comes into an atmosphere, or I'm sorry, into a solar system like this, and it gets closer and closer to the sun like it did, it starts to melt that ice. And so you get ice and dust kind of flying off of the object itself, right? Well, there was no sublimation. They didn't detect any of that, anything melting off this thing. So and not only that, if you recall, it was tumbling on 2 axes. So we got some problems here. So it's not really a comet. But anyway, let's find out where it's from. There's a lot of suspicious stuff about this particular object. But okay. So then they said that what they do. Consulted a huge batch of data produced by the European Space Agency's Gaia mission to pinpoint the precise locations of those stars, the 4 stars. Combining the information, they identified 4 possible stars that could have birthed Oumuamua, a red dwarf, HIP 3757, a sun-like star, HD 292249, and 2 other stars without such manageable nicknames as of yet. 2 unnamed stars. So we have 2 nondescript, oddly named, that nobody knows what they are except for astronauts that follow this stuff. And then we have 2 unnamed stars. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about this one? Is this something we should worry about? Is this the probe going back to the aliens in some star system, and they're gonna they just collected all our radio signals, and they're gonna come back with a I don't know, what would you say, like Rush Limbaugh or NPR or something, and take it back to I don't know. What do you think, Frank? How's this look? Is this something we should worry about?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of curious because, right, to determine where it came from, I would assume that they are assuming that it's going in a straight line, right? That it's going the same speed, that it's on a defined trajectory, and that it's not shifting. It's not speeding up, it's not slowing down, right? Just like a bullet trajectory, right? So you shoot the gun, you see where the bullet went, you can track back that trajectory, you know where it came from, you know, to identify these stars that it came from. But if this thing is mysteriously speeding up, mysteriously slowing down, shifting around, seemingly without evaporated ice and water to serve as that propellant, if it's moving on its own, then they have no idea where it came from. I see there is a whole science article about it. I didn't have time to read it, but you know, how can they tell where it came from if it's increasing in speed or slowing down or whatnot, right? Because it could have come from anywhere at that point. It could have come from the complete opposite direction they expected. You know what I mean? And until they address that question of how is it speeding up, how is it moving trajectory, seemingly on its own, until they identify how that's happening, I don't think they can say where it came from. So it could come from anywhere.
Yeah,
Does that make
just
sense?
Yeah, of course. So as you recall, it did change. Okay, so of course they take into account the gravitational forces of the planets that it passes by, okay, or the sun or what have you, which is why it swings around and heads back out. It's gravity that does that, okay. But so the gravitational aspects of our solar system are a known thing to us, okay, to our astronomers, supposedly to NASA. Now, if this thing swings around and then accelerates outside of the expectation of the gravity signature of planets, we got a problem, right? There's something weird about this thing. And that's why I keep bringing it up, because it did that. And, you know, and they chalked it up to, oh, it's a comet, it's sublimation, it's causing this thing to accelerate, to change direction. Is that really what's happening here? Or was this like an actual alien space probe that they sent to check us out and is headed back? You know, I mean, changing directions is weird. That doesn't happen in space. Everything's, you know, kind of on particular orbits, and gravity kind of dictates exactly how fast and how far it's going to move before it, you know, turns around and goes back the other direction. So anyway, very suspicious. And now they say that they know where it came from, sort of. They narrowed it down to 4 stars that nobody's ever heard of, one of them being a red dwarf. So yeah, weird, definitely weird. But we'll keep an eye on this. So if you guys know anything, or if we have any amateur astronomers out there, or anybody who's knows a little bit more about it than us, you know, we've been watching pretty close, but maybe you found a scientific paper, maybe you read that one that Frank was talking about. If you guys know about it, let us know. Give us a call. We'd love to hear. 702-957-1037, or you can click the Discord link. And again, so we're having a little bit of technical issues with Facebook on the stream, so if you want your comments read, hop over to YouTube. I've got the link there pinned, and Frank can read your comments there. He's watching YouTube. So Kelly says, "Give it time. Our guy will be out there digging it out." Yep, that's that's the rover. That's what we're saying. Frank thinks it's going to happen. And then Kimberly says, "Yeah, ETs can defy man-made laws of physics." Yeah, right. So, or definitely disguise it so that we wouldn't recognize a craft, right? If they wanted to disguise something and make it look like it was, presumably natural to us, of course they could do that. That would be silly of them to just, fly an actual spacecraft into orbit, hang out, and then fly away. I mean, I guess they do it all the time. I don't know. Am I talking crazy here?
That's the big theory for building massive starships. It's not, the theory doesn't go, like, you wouldn't boost up to orbit a bunch of steel and start a ship. That would be a waste of time, a waste of energy. Lifting all these materials up to build this massive creation would just beggar the entire world, right? So the way that they theorize you would build these massive starships is find an asteroid, hollow it out, strap some engines on one side, put some computer systems in, but use the actual material of the asteroid as the shell of your spaceship, right? So when you look at these things and you see them in this, especially this 10-to-1 ratio where they're much longer than they are wide, makes sense to me. It could be some kind of hollowed out asteroid, right? But again, that's pure speculation. Who really knows? That's what I would do, though. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to tell. And that's another point. It's almost criminal that we let these things fly by and we don't have anything up there to investigate them. Because think about what this is. This is, even if there's no life on it, even if there's nothing there, this is like a wealth of resources that God or whatever is just throwing into our solar system, and we're just letting it pass by. It's like seeing a nugget of gold rolling down the hill, and you're just too lazy to reach out and pick it up. It's criminal, quite frankly.
Yeah, it came and went, and it was traveling too fast for us to send a probe out to catch it. It's we talked about that in one of the first time the articles we actually hit this up with. It was traveling twice as fast as anything we had, reportedly had that could actually follow this thing. So it's not like we could send a probe after it and scan it as it flew away. Nothing like that. It just came and it went. And again, Stephen Hawking, before he passed away, this was one of his final things that he was talking about, is that hey, this is we saw it incoming, and it was reported, and he said we can't waste the opportunity. We have to do every single thing we can to learn as much as we can about this thing. And it kind of just came in and left. Adios. Adios, amigo. Amua. Catch you next time in like 10 million years, or if you're an actual comet or whatever. So there you go. All right. So what do you guys think?
We had a YouTube comment on here about a History Channel show they're releasing, which seems to be pretty interesting. This Project Blue Book. So Project Blue Book was the program way back when, where they would collect and collate and investigate all these UFO sightings and put them together. And I think they officially canceled the program, but I think it's come back in various iterations since then. But now the History Channel is making a drama series based on it. What do you think of that? What do you think that's going to do for the whole thing? Delegitimize it? I think that's the way these TV series tend to go, is they take these real events that really happened. There's real reports of these UFOs. They put these things together, and then they fictionalize it so much so that the viewers who didn't know about these things before, they form an association in their mind. Oh, that's just fictional. That's just a TV series. That wasn't a real thing. I don't know if you saw that trailer for it.
I did not. Interesting too. We've talked about in the past how the media takes hold, and the History Channel is let's say they're part of the cabal, where when they show you the actual history, or they get to change things, they get to redact things, they get to do some Hollywood action to the actual stories, and so it's kind of like redacted history. It's revisionist. And it's censored, to be completely frank. So when some of this stuff comes out, I cringe a little bit, because there's so much more, that I know they only have, doing shows. I know you only have so much time, and you have to make edits, and you have to decide what goes in the show. But if it's something about history or you know, something like Project Blue Book or something like MK Ultra, like there's a ton of really insidious information that you can pull out that you know, they've hidden and they've covered up, and some crazy things, some conspiracies about you know, like let's say Phil Schneider, for example, how he was, you know, supposedly a suicide, but it clearly looks like he was murdered somehow, you know, with the tube wrapped around his neck. I mean, like, there's tons of these things that should go into these stories that a lot of times just get left out or get sensationalized or, like I said, straight redacted, edited. It just, you know, it makes me cringe. Like, I'll watch it for sure, but it's yeah, it's one of those things, you know, like when they make movies about these things, it's like a Hollywood kind of reteaching millennials history, right? Like if they missed it in history class, or you know, were cut in class, or whatever they were doing, you know, and not paying attention, read the cliff notes. Here they go see let's say Pearl Harbor, you know, they see the movie, and that's, you see what I'm saying? It's kind of like a sensationalized Hollywood version of history that really isn't, you know, it's, you know, 10% true, but the rest of that is just, you know, like a Twilight rehashed, you know, with Ben Affleck and what's her name. You know what I mean? And she's much better. I'll remember her name in a sec. She's much better than Ben Affleck. But, you know, it's just... anyway, you catch what I'm saying. Kyle says, I don't know. History Channel does some good work sometimes. Ancient Aliens has to be a little respectable for some of our interest in these topics. Yeah. No, I agree. So it is... okay, but you got to admit, okay, at least from my perspective, with the History Channel and Ancient Aliens, there's some good stuff on there, but it's repetitive greatly, and it's I think at this point, what are they, season 12 or 13 or 15 or 18? I don't even know. It's played out, right? Like if Ancient Aliens was successful, don't you think it's time to spawn maybe another series about possibly MK Ultra or, you know, Project Blue Book? Let's hope this one's good. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But you know, this is just I've watched a lot of the History Channel, and that's why we're here. You know, it's inspired me. It's inspired Frank. These types of stories that are out there to make this show. So I can't dog on it entirely, but you get what I'm saying, right? It seems like it's revisionist, and not necessarily in a good way, right? I mean, am I making sense, Frank?
Yeah, I think you are. And there's another kind of insidious point to that, is that when they put these things on the mainstream television, they have to be advertiser friendly. So let's talk about this hypothetical MK Ultra show they could make, right? There is so much disturbing, horrifying, disgusting detail with MK Ultra, like rape, torture, child molestation, forcing children to eat things they shouldn't be eating, killing each other. None of that detail is going to make it onto an advertiser-friendly television show. It's just not, because it's not profitable. They can't do it. They would have to subsidize the entire thing. And so you're a young, up-and-coming 14-year-old, you're interested in this kind of stuff, and you watch this new version, and you get a detail set that doesn't reflect reality. And then going forward, they've sanitized history, right? And so it's kind of sinister when you look at it in that way, because they have to use certain facts and leave certain facts out just by virtue of it getting on television. And then, of course, the propaganda machine starts, and that's going to change the facts a little bit more. But that's why television isn't a good media to portray historical fact, because there's so much there that just isn't kosher for television.
Yeah, and I'm going to read Kyle's comment here again, because I skimmed through it, don't think I did it justice. So he says, I don't know. History Channel does some good work sometimes. Ancient Aliens has to be a little responsible for some of our interest in these topics. And I think that's spot on too. It's more like a introductory, like a pop version, you know, of aliens or ancient aliens or anything of that nature. So you're right. It is responsible, and that's a great comment. So it's a great counter to what I just said. But I think your comment and then what we're saying can also live in the same universe, you know, where it's they kind of leave some of the stuff out that you know, might be a little you know, R-rated, you know, a little more insidious than they're able to handle. Just like Frank said with advertisers and whatnot. So, great comment, Kyle. Thank you. Kelly says Ancient Aliens still hasn't found everything, and that's a good thing because we need to keep digging. Yeah, I agree. And, you know, they're doing the ancient text stuff and you know, the Sumerian stuff and looking back, which is good. Kind of digging through that with not just Zachariah Sitchin. That they probably haven't touched him that I've seen. Have you guys seen an episode with Zachariah and the Lost Book of Enki on Ancient Aliens? I have not. And I think I've pretty much seen all of them, at least up to the last couple seasons anyway. But anyway, so yeah, they do. They go back into the Bible and, you know, the Book of Enoch, and I've seen a lot of that, and it's good. It's definitely good. But you're right. I think we need to look forward. I think we need to look at what's happening right now too. So, oh, speaking of which, we can get to this later if you guys are interested. But I saw a post on Reddit. Did you see this one, Frank? Where they were talking about they found Atlantis, and it was on Google Earth. It was right there, like in plain sight.
Yeah, the recat structure. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. We can pull it up if you guys are interested. But I thought it was pretty cool. Tim says, "Can we take a look at the Mexican military UFO video tonight?" Yep, let's do it, man. Can you find us a video of that?
I got that in the links for you.
Oh, do you?
It's already there for you.
Yeah, already.
The Chilean. I think it's the Chilean. I don't know if there's a Mexican one. I could only find the Chilean one. So if there is a Mexican one, feel free to post that. But the Chilean one is the one I remember, where it's leaving this trail of invisible infrared hot smoke behind it. So correct me if I'm wrong, but we do have that in here to look at later on.
Okay, so we will take a look at that one. If that's not correct, Tim, go ahead and pull up a link, an article or a video, whatever, and we'll have a look. Carlos says, I think the X-Files are way better than Ancient Aliens. You know what, I agree, but they're kind of two different things. It's like comparing apples and oranges. I mean, you know, some of the subject matter is the same, but the X-Files is written as a, you know, it's like a story. And, you know, Ancient Aliens is more like, they try and make a documentary type of thing based on, you know what I mean? There's kind of a difference. It's not really, I think they're both good, let's say that. I think that's my thoughts on that. What do you think, Frank?
Just a final point too that I wanted to add on that. The fictionalization of history is you are here right now, interested in these topics, learning more, talking about it, you know, trying to educate yourself on all these topics. So yes, these television shows served as a gateway drug, so to speak, for you, and maybe your friends and your family and whatnot. But you are here. Right? The vast majority of people, the vast majority of people are not here. They're not interested. So they'll check these things out and they'll get a sanitized version of the details, and that will become their truth. That will become their historical reality. So does that make sense? There's different types of people. And I think for the vast majority of people, these things are more damaging than they're helpful. Even though a minority, like all of us here, take these things and go looking for more details afterwards. So it's good for some of us, but I think it's also bad for perhaps the vast majority.
Yeah, I think so. It's good enough. Let's say it's good enough. They just they watch it, a few of them, and they're satisfied. You know, one way or the other. So it doesn't lead to more. You know, there's tons of stuff that's out there debunking Ancient Aliens too. So. You know, I think that stuff's interesting as hell to see what kind of stuff they're talking about and why or why not this stuff is fake. You know, so I think you know, all of those types of arguments are legitimate to me. You know, at least to the point where you need to look at it. You know, like you can't make a decision without all the evidence, right? And so where, you know, some of the mainstream narrative is going to kind of creep into whatever news you're looking at. In the end, you know, the more evidence you get, the more you personally can make a better decision on whether you think this stuff is real or not real. Okay, Tim says found it, and he's got a link, so I'll add it to the thingamajigger here, and we'll look at this in a sec. I'll send a version to Frank, and here we go. And then okay, and then we'll get to this in just a sec. I don't know if I've seen this one or not. Let's take a look. Okay, leaked footage how UFO was chased by Mexican Air Force. Full movie of unidentified flying object. Okay, so we'll play this shortly. Okay, so as you guys are aware, we record these things live. So if you're watching right now, today is, what is the date today? Today is September 25th, 2018. So if you're watching right now, we're live. So if you want to be part of the show, you want to talk about this stuff, it's free for all, open topic. So Tim just dropped this video we're going to look at in a sec about the Mexican Air Force chasing a UFO. But if you guys want to tell us a ghost story, fall's creeping in, summer just ended, so we're open to that. If you want to talk about maybe an article that we've missed, we've talked about a lot of things over the past several months here since we've been watching the news, but maybe we missed something. You know, there's only two of us. We're working hard doing this and taking it seriously, but you can't see everything. You know, there's things that we're going to miss. So here's one of them, the Mexican UFO thing. So we're going to hit that in a sec, but if you guys have anything you want to talk about, 702-957-1037 is the phone number, or you can click the Discord link in the Facebook stream and get on Discord with Frank and I, and we'll talk about whatever. So, all right. Shall we do this Mexican UFO there, Frank? Let's give Frank a minute to watch the thing.
It's not a single UFO either. It looks like a fleet of UFOs. This is pretty compelling.
Okay. All right. You watch that. I'm gonna play it on screen here. All right. Here we go. Tim, you asked. You got it, buddy. You got it. Here we go. Okay. So action. So this is leaked footage. How UFO was chased by Mexican Air Force. Full movie of unidentified flying object UFO. Here we go. Action.
Es un material grabado por pilotos del Escuadrón 501 de la Fuerza Aérea Mexicana. Es el pasado 5 de marzo. En el video se observa un vuelo de...
Okay, since probably few of us speak Spanish, I'm going to just describe what's happening here. So it looks like it's a possibly a radar is what we're looking at. Somebody correct me. I know Kelly's got military experience, if anybody does, if this is some kind of infrared instead, or it looks like a radar readout we're looking at, and there's definitely like a big blip in this video. So I'm going to keep playing it, and I'll mute it because I think the Spanish is distracting. If anybody wants the Spanish, let me know. But I'm going to, here we go, action. All right. Scanning around, it looks like so it looks like there's several little things flying, and I counted 3 or 4 small ones and maybe a large one. So they're saying this is a plane that's following these. They gave the plane type. Let's see, and it's definitely tracking something moving through the clouds, left to right on the screen here, and looks like with the radar or whatever's happened. Oh, FLIR again. Okay, the same thing. So this is the forward-facing infrared. So, well, let's see if this guy's on the off chance this guy's actually speaking English. Let's see. I doubt it though.
Lo que estaba ahí.
No. Okay. So, okay, yeah, it is the FLIR. If somebody can remind me what that stands for again, because I'm terrible with these things. FLIR. So it's like a forward-facing infrared, if I recall. And yeah, they're tracking. So there's 2 glowing orbs now. So there was one initially, and some small ones, 3 or 4, kind of circling around. But now there's like 2. It looks like headlights, almost like Jeep headlights, but they're floating across the sky. Oh, now there's 3, 4, 5. Oh, yeah, there's a fleet. There's a ton of these things. Wow. No, I have not seen this. I have not seen this. This is pretty good, Tim. This is pretty good. Okay, same thing. So counting, so they're moving from left to right on the screen. I count 3, 6, 7 that you can see, 8 maybe. There's little ones that seem to be flying around the larger ones. Groups of 3. Oh snap! Yeah. No, this is different. This is weird. This is yeah. What would you call this? Anomalous. What do you think, Frank? You watch this?
Yeah, so they said this was over the ocean by some oil rigs, and they had to kind of fly closer to these oil rigs to get these pictures. Now, there is some scuttlebutt I'm reading here that this might be the gas burning on the top of these oil rigs. Not too sure about that. So there is some people, of course, there's always going to be people out there saying this is fake, this is a hoax, or this is a misinterpretation of something else. So I guess the skeptic view of it is this is the towers on the oil rigs burning off their gas. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like they're moving around. They're kind of moving in ways that stationary flames on the ocean on these oil rigs would not look like. I don't know. This is pretty neat. And you'd think they would know that, and they're not going to go on camera and talk about it if they were just filming oil rigs through their infrared camera.
Yeah, it's like the whole, what would you call it, military flares, right? It's like, oh, we got an explanation for that. Here it is, swamp gas in the ocean. Ball lightning. Yeah, I don't know. If you know more about this than we do, Tim, let us know. He says, yes, they said they blamed it on oil rigs. I've never worked on an oil rig personally. I'm not sure if Frank has. Have you, Frank?
Yeah, I did a time on the oil rigs, but it's hard work. Anyway, I actually got a video here that debunks the debunking. If we want to watch that, it's about a minute long. I'll post it in there for.
Okay. Debunks the debunking. Is it in English?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Here we go. I'm excited. I am excited. Here we go.
Was analyze the lights to determine their shape, to see if there was shape to them, and how did it change frame to frame, minute to minute.
If the lights are oil wells, as skeptics have claimed, then they should flicker like a flame. But using computer programs to break down the lights reveals something very different.
Over a period of frames and minutes, the glow may change on the outer edges, but there is an object in the center that is rock steady. It's a ball, it's a sphere, and it's not possible that it's a flame, because if it was a flame, it would be undulating not just from the edges out, but over the entire object.
Adding to the case against the oil well theory is the fact that despite fights in this area daily, no one has ever reported this kind of encounter before.
Okay. So there we go. This guy says it couldn't be just simply the oil rigs and the flames, and there you go. There you go. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Please give us a call. 702-957-1037. I'm going to keep begging for calls until you guys call. So yeah, that's a good find there, Tim.
Just a note on that, if I can interrupt for a second, is
go.
That was in 2004, right? And so it's very interesting the quality of discourse we get from 2004 until today. You would never see a video like that today. Everything today is debunk, debunk, debunk. That's actually a critical analysis, pointing out a flaw in the argument. That's a good piece of television, and it's on the History Channel. But you wouldn't see that today. It's all, nah, this isn't a UFO. You don't know what you're talking about, right? I feel like we've gotten dumber. Does that make sense? Because looking at that video, that's the kind of analysis I want. And that's few and far between. You can't find that stuff nowadays.
Yeah, I think it's intentional too. If they glaze over it, then they've made their point, and debunked it, or said, just like the meme with the Giorgio Tsoukalos and the big hair, therefore aliens. It's like the political discourse. It's like one way or the other, right? There's no nuance. There's no investigations. There's no no investigations that are real. And so here we are. We just one side saying debunked, and the other side saying, well, obviously aliens. I mean, I think it's obviously life is more complicated than that. So I think again, that's why you guys are here. That's why you guys are listening to this stuff, and that's why we're talking about it, because it's just not it's not that easy. If life were that easy, boy, I tell you what. I tell you what. But yeah, you guys get it. Good find, Tim. So Tim, Kelly says, I've been in the Gulf while on deployments where all kinds of oil rigs are burning, and those are not oil wells. There you go. So we've got a first-hand account of a witness of actual burning oil rigs, and these are not them, says Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. And then Tim says they would know where the oil rigs are located. Yeah, exactly. And they're moving. So this plane's following these things as they move through the sky. So it just it doesn't make sense with that just like the sunspot, right? Like we evacuate the entire facility. We close down 2 post offices, and keep the black helicopters, men in black show up, or let's say CIA or FBI, what have you. Basically, the goon squad shows up, and they run everybody out because the janitor has some child porn on his laptop. Right? Does that make sense to anybody? Anybody
so
whatsoever?
There's actually an update on that. If you want to let me jump in with it,
yeah.
Remember that guy who was flying the drone over the observatory?
Yeah.
He's making it his mission to find out what's going on. So he's up. This guy Paul M. He's uploading videos every day. He's talking to these people. He's doing real journalism. This drone guy. So here's an update. And again, it's not from a news outlet, so it's hard to tell if he's just selling himself or what's going on. Just his update. He goes back and he says this: the windows of the houses in Sunspot around the solar observatory are still boarded up with sheets of wood, and no one is around like a ghost town. And I talked with one person today at the observatory who told me that they had signed a non-disclosure form and that they were compensated with enough money to where they would not talk about what had happened. And that's it. So, interesting little detail that he went back there, he did real journalism, he talked to the people on this observatory. So again, yeah, big story. They shut the place down, they evacuated, they brought in the military, or not the military, the FBI, helicopters, they went on. And so this guy starts looking around, poking around, flying drones, and he's saying that he talked to one of these people, they signed an NDA, they paid them off to shut up. So there's an update. What do you think of that?
I think it sounds legitimate to me. I mean, why is nobody talking? Like, you'd think the community there would be interested in getting the word out on what's actually happening on their property, or around their property, the post offices, and it doesn't make none of this makes sense. Like at the very least, to me, I was thinking about this previously, earlier today even, and it seems like if you're going to evacuate that many people, it's at least like a suspicious device type of situation, right? At the very least. It's not that, like a laptop with some porn on it is not going to blow up and harm people in, adjacent buildings miles away. It doesn't make sense. It just does not make sense. So it's I think anything now that comes out that is kind of off the beaten path, as far as let's say conspiracy-wise, idea-wise, it rings truer to me than their actual story, because none of that adds up. None of it. Not a single bit. The local police didn't know, about an investigation about child porn in their actual area. Like, how does that not make sense? And then they evacuate everybody, 2 post offices, the whole thing. It just reeks of some kind of cover up, some kind of BS, some kind of what would you call it? Help me before I curse. Help me, Frank. Okay, we got some comments.
Propaganda.
Yeah,
propaganda. Like, putting their narrative over everything else and pushing it forward through money and NDAs, it seems in this case. And they don't want people to know what happened. And I think the real guilty fact here is that none of these journalists are willing to go there and interview these people. Like, CNN is not sending a reporter on the scene to ask these people, hey, what happened? They're just not doing it. I don't see why. Why is the local news in the area not sending their intrepid reporter out to do some investigative journalism and get to the bottom of it? Yeah, it's just not happening. And when that kind of stuff isn't happening, there's a reason for it.
Yeah,
I don't know what that reason is, but there's a reason for it.
Well, they're told to stand down, right? I mean, if you turn on CNN or Fox or any of them, they have people on there that are, ex-intelligence people. They have ex-CIA. They have, ex-FBI people that are like have had clearances forever. So it just reeks of propaganda now. In the old days, you didn't. They tried to avoid that and saying, hey, let's go to the CIA guy, that's retired now. That's going to tell us what's actually happening. They tried to avoid that stuff, but now they don't care. They're just like, hey, check it out. Here's our CIA guy. He's going to tell you the propaganda stuff, and here, action. Tell us propaganda. Like, that's exactly what's happening. So, it's so much like the more they try and fool you, the more suspicious I get. It just it doesn't sit right with me. A couple more comments here. So Tim says, not that we've gotten dumber. They're trying to dumb us down. Yeah, I think that's as true a statement has been made today. And then it makes zero sense they shut down that much. Yeah, exactly, right? So one laptop is so dangerous that we have to shut down the whole town, shut down 2 post offices and et cetera, evacuate, all that. It just, none of it makes sense. Ted says, what's up, Ted? Thanks for showing up. He says, what about the other observatories that were also shut down on the same day? Yeah. So I think it was more of their webcams of the observatories, but still, it's suspicious. Like all of it kind of hints at something on the sun going on that they didn't want us to see. They didn't want to get reported, and they didn't want some internet sleuth to pick up on a webcam and report on YouTube or something. It seems like it's that kind of redaction to history, like an actual propaganda. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, but we're going to keep an eye on it. So if you guys have any additional information that we may have missed, we'd love to hear it. The number to call is 702-957-1037. We're looking out for your calls. If you'd like to be on Discord, hop on with Frank and I. Click the link in the Facebook stream, and we'll get you on. We'll talk about some stuff. We'll talk about the Solar Observatory, or we'll talk about the UFOs in Mexico, or whatever. We got some more stuff we're going to get to too. So if like I said, it's summer's over. The harvest moon is out. It's time for ghost stories. If anybody has ghost stories, we'd like to hear those too. So we're gonna maybe lean into some of that as we go in the next several weeks or a couple months here. But here we are. We're talking about whatever. What do you guys think? That's why we do this. That's why we do the Tuesday show, because we want to know what you guys think. What about you, Frank? What do you think? How we looking right now?
You know what I want to do right now? Let's pull up that Chilean helicopter UFO video, because this thing is crazy. This is exactly the same set of circumstances that we saw in those To the Stars Academy video, where the forward-facing infrared camera could detect this object, but then when they looked at it with a regular camera, there was nothing to be seen. And not only that, this particular UFO starts to do something quite strange. So actually, if you start that video at 6 minutes in, I think if we watch that, we're in for a surprise.
Okay. Action. Here we go. Okay. Doesn't seem to be sound in this, huh? I'm going to mute it. Okay, so we're looking at the same thing. It looks like one of those forward-facing infrareds. It seems to be like a little blob, maybe shaped like a, what would you call that? Let's say if you turned a figure 8 on its side and filled it in. That's kind of what it looks like to me. Or like a peanut, maybe. It's just kind of floating out there. It's not really doing anything spectacular, but it's definitely floating. It's moving. The clouds behind it. So either the clouds behind it are moving, or it's moving. Now we get a new view. And a zoom in. Let's see. Let's see. What can we see here? Okay. Back to it. So what was that? So it looks like they maybe snapped out of infrared and then back to it. So
yeah, so that was the visual light. That was the regular camera where they couldn't see it whatsoever.
Okay. And then so they can only see it with infrared, and the regular camera looked like nothing was there. And it's just kind of chilling. Looks like it's moving slowly left to right. Very, very slow. Almost a hover. Like the only thing I know of that we can do a hover like that with would be like a Harrier or a helicopter. But it's certainly not shaped like a helicopter or a Harrier. Like a little fat peanut facing sideways and heading left. So I guess that's the best I can do description-wise. And it's just hanging out. It's kind of cruising. This is Chile.
Yeah, and note the difference, right? Because visual camera cannot see it. I think they flipped to like a black and white camera too. You can't see it. Only in this infrared, which matches the Tom DeLonge type videos too, which is really strange.
Yeah, a little bit weird. Okay, so it's still kind of just cruising from right to left on the screen here on the radar, and nothing scary. Just hanging out, moving left.
It's coming. It's coming. Don't worry.
Okay, I'm ready to get scared. Okay, looks like there's some kind of something coming out the back of it, like a thrust of some sort. It's like it's growing. Okay, and then so as that's happening, they switch to the other camera, and you don't see anything. Oh, it's growing. What the heck? Okay, so whatever this thrust or whatever was coming out of the back of it, it looked like an actual rocket thrust coming out of the back of this thing, but now it's turning into, it looks like a part of this thing maybe. Okay, it looked like, so they switched cameras and it looked like they could see it on the other camera, right? Am I wrong there? Okay, so what the heck? Okay, so now whatever it was like spitting out behind it is like kind of left like a, what you would call like a chemtrail type of thing. Right, and that kind of just sits up there in the clouds, and okay, yeah, the regular camera.
Yeah, so it looked like it was exhausting something, either jet exhaust fumes that they could see in the infrared, but they couldn't see in the visual except for like a cloud, or it was releasing something in the atmosphere, which is even more terrifying, dosing, you know, the people underneath it with whatever's in that exhaust plume, but. Really, I think the key part of this video is that that thing is evident. You can see it clearly in that FLIR camera. But when you look at it through the visual camera, and I think even the black and white camera, although I'm not sure it's a black and white camera, you can't see anything. It's not there. It's completely invisible, except for the trail left by it. You see what I'm saying about that?
Yeah, definitely. So, is it? So Tim says, I want to buy a FLIR camera now. And he asks, seeding? Question mark. It's maybe, right? Is it one of those actual, you know, chemtrail cloud seed type things? Is it what's the sulfur that's being put in the sky that they claim is from actual commercial aircraft, or what is this? I mean, if it's invisible to everything but infrared, what could that be? It's
yeah, it's terrifying to think that there are UFOs above us right now, flying around, doing their business, spewing out fumes out the back. They're all over the place. They're above us right now, but we cannot see them unless we have infrared technology. Terrifying to think that they've adapted to this modern age of cameras everywhere, and that we just can't see them anymore because they've turned on their cloaking devices, so to speak. Or another possibility, perhaps even more terrifying, is that there are different types of UFOs, different types of technology. So the ones we see on a regular basis, they represent one faction, one species, one arm of the government. And these ones here that perhaps have been flying around forever and we're only noticing them now are a different faction or a different species or arm of the government. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as they keep showing up, I mean, what do we expect? It's they're different sizes, they're different shapes. Some you can see with the naked eye, some you can't. I mean, and it's been going on. This is, at least 50 years we got of this type of stuff going on. And like if you go back to the ancient aliens type stuff, we have not decades, we got centuries of this stuff, millennia of this stuff. So it is frightening that if you think in galactic and cosmic terms, that people are very, very, very young. Like we're just coming into our own technology wise, and so maybe we're able to see a lot of this stuff that's been here for a very, very long time. So let's say 1,000 years ago we have this stuff flying around doing whatever it's doing in the sky there, leaving the little exhaust trails or whatever it is. It's cloud seeding or what have you. But maybe it's been going on for so long and we just can't see it. You can't see it with the naked eye. And we didn't have the technology to even have a dream of seeing these things. And so I think that's a little more terrifying too, right? And so once you start stacking this stuff up on top of each other, it ends up what the hell's going on here? Like what's really happening? Definitely terrifying is the word. Few comments here. I see Frank dropped a link. We'll pull that up in a sec. So Tim says, what if it's a different camera on the other side of the plane? Yeah, it could be. That could be. I don't know. I mean, we just saw if they were switching between cameras, looking at the same thing. I think that would be the reason why you'd switch cameras to show that it didn't appear. But you could be right. As with everything, as with every single thing we always look at, it could always be doctored, right? It could always be photoshopped. It could always be video edited. You guys have seen Hollywood movies, right? Yeah, we've all seen Independence Day, the old one and probably the new one. Like some of the stuff in there is incredible, and it looks real on the screen, right? And so just because they can do it in Hollywood doesn't mean some talented somebody somewhere else could also pull something else like this off, So, again, always a grain of salt. This is, again, why we do this show, why we talk about this stuff, why we bring these things up, why we open up to you guys, because we want to know what you think. We want to know. That's a great comment. It's possible. This is possible. This is fake. It's possible that second camera angle was, phony or facing the backside of the plane. Who knows? Who knows? That's a great comment, Tim. And then Kimberly says, there's a theory that the chemtrails are created by UFOs cloaked as airplanes. That's terrifying, because again, if that's the case, how long have they been doing this? And couldn't we actually So if that's the case, then we probably owe ourselves to them, right? Because if they've been cloud seeding or whatever they're doing for how long? We see them now with infrared, but again, decades, centuries, millennia. Like, how long has this been happening? Is this maybe the reason why we have an atmosphere? Is that a possibility? What do you think, Frank?
I have no idea. Yeah, it's terrifying to think that we only now can see these things happening, and yeah, I'm not sure. That's why I posted that link for you, is looking at some of this consumer-grade FLIR technology. It's pretty pricey, anywhere from $500 to $5,000 to get a scope version of it to look up in the sky. So I can see why it's too expensive for most people to acquire this kind of technology and look at these UFOs with this kind of stuff, and why it's only these military videos that are coming out.
Okay, there we go. There's our Amazon link if you guys are interested in buying some super expensive FLIR technology. Yeah, so like it looks like these pocket-sized Scout is $500 to start. So if you want to get into the game, the opening price, the opening bid, $500, $519.99. That's right. That's right. Are you out of your mind? Only $519.99. Okay, I'll stop. Tim says that's scary. Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. It's how long has this been happening? And Kelly says the camera is infrared, night vision, FLIR. Yeah, exactly. So so what's happening? So explain to me how with the naked eye you cannot see this thing. So even if you have like a background, you have a cloud background, and this thing's moving, even at night, you'd be able to see a dark spot across the cloud, right? Given enough moonlight, like there's always ambient light at night, except in particular times. But for the most part, you have ambient light at night because of the moon. The sun shining off the moon, reflecting back down, gives us that light. So we should be able to see some of it at least, right? Am I wrong there, Frank? I think you'd be able to see like a mark across the clouds, like a darker mark across the clouds or something. Like it shouldn't be completely invisible.
Yeah, in broad daylight, you definitely would see it. You definitely see the sun reflecting off it or whatnot. And these, the To the Stars Academy videos and these couple of videos we've just shown, you're not seeing anything at all. So, yeah, I don't know what to say. And I don't even know if we can do that. There's the old invisibility cloak type technology where they bend the light around something, but I don't know that that's happening here. I have no idea. So this is advanced technology. Let's put it that way. It has to be advanced technology because you can see airplanes in the sky. You can see helicopters buzzing by. These things are completely invisible to the light spectrum that our eyes use, right? So how they're doing it, I have no idea. And how long they've been doing it, I think is a good question too. We have no idea.
We have no idea. Fred says, good evening, fellows. Hey, what's up, Fred? Thanks for showing up, man. Tim says, that's scary. I think, wait, we already did this. Ernie says, I've always believed that UFOs are cloaked as huge clouds sometimes. I've got a photograph for you, man. I'll pull this out. We'll do this in one of the upcoming shows, but I took an amazing photograph of a cloud structure, and I swear to you, it's got the classic UFO shape right in the middle of this thing. I was like, no, are you kidding me? Like, is this real? And it sat there, and it was this really peculiar shape. Okay, so imagine a sky with no clouds whatsoever, except this one huge formation, and then right in the middle of this formation, it's like the classic UFO shape. I've got a picture of this thing, several pictures. I took like 10 or 15 or 20, I don't know, a lot. And it was kind of as the sun was going down. So I've got some in the light, and I've got some in the dark. So we'll pull these up. These will end up on the website eventually. Maybe we'll talk about them in an upcoming show. But exactly, it's weird, right? They actually have those UFO-shaped clouds. That's one of those things they talk about at Mount Shasta quite a bit. They show up in that area, but I saw some out here, Las Vegas style. So I've got some amazing pictures, and I'm telling you, right in the middle of this thing is classic UFO shape. It's amazing. Okay, so Ted says, I myself saw 3 lights turn into one, and we live just on the other side of the mountain from White Sands Missile Range here in New Mexico. And there have been a lot of other sightings posted on a local Facebook group site. Yeah, you know what? If you got pictures, man, we'd love to see them. Like, this is the type of thing, right? This is why we do this, because if you actually have a group there that's posting these things, and we can get these things, they don't show up on local news. They definitely don't show up on national news. Why? Why is that? Why do you think that's the thing? Why do you think it's a thing? Why are we not talking about this? What's the biggest thing there? What do you think, Frank? Why are we not?
Yeah. You know what? I'm thinking about it right now, and I think that if there was a 24/7 news channel where they took UFO videos and then they played them, and then they talked to a bunch of experts, like in that History Channel clip we saw earlier, and they tried to debunk them or tried to, just note certain features of them. And that was all this news channel was about, is here's a UFO video, here's an expert looking at it. I would watch that channel 8 hours a day, because that would be amazing. That would be phenomenal to actually get some critical input on all these things, if they're flares, if they're not flares, if they have the characteristic of flares with the smoke trails and the swaying back and forth, or if what kind of technology these things could be. Like, nothing else, just that all the time. I would watch it. I'm sure you would watch it. I'm sure all of us would watch it. And I think there's a reason we don't have that kind of content, is because they don't want us to do that type of thing. They're suppressing this information.
It's not allowed. It's literally 100% not allowed. Okay, so with that said, has anybody ever watched C-SPAN? You know what I'm talking about? So it's like all of the ridiculous, mundane stuff that goes down on like Capitol Hill with the senators and the Congress people, the whole deal, right? So like every stupid little dumb thing they do, even the breaks they take, they'll have a camera rolling, and this will play on C-SPAN, right? It's just like mind-numbing garbage. It's just like what I
watch C-SPAN all the time.
Okay,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay,
I find it fascinating.
Well, it's fascinating, but isn't it it's basically a lesson to me? Like it's an exercise in frustration, because you're like all the things you guys are doing, you're not solving any problems at all. Like, you guys think that something's happening here, but there's nothing happening here, and there's nothing going to happen tomorrow. There's nothing going to happen the next day, and it's going to be the next day and the next day, and you can watch and watch and watch 24/7, and nothing's happening. Nothing happens. These morons, they filibuster, they walk out, they do this, they cancel meetings, they take breaks. There's nothing ever happening, right? So imagine if there was an actual channel that was like that about UFOs. It was nothing but 24/7 wall-to-wall UFOs. It would kill. Like that would actually crush, man. It would kill the ratings. People would be watching that stuff like crazy. I would. Anyway, I'd have it on all the time.
Yeah, and you get a couple of people, you get a Photoshop expert, you put him on the payroll, you get a video manipulation expert, put that person on the payroll, then you get maybe, an aeronautical engineer, you put them on the payroll, and, just 4 or 5 regular people, and their entire job is just to look at these things and make some critical commentary on them. Play the video, get the critical commentary from all these experts, play the next video, repeat over and over and over again. It would kill. I'd love that.
Yeah, you'd crush it. It would totally crush it. Okay, a few more comments here. Let's catch up. Kimberly says, a guy named Eden Hatred, you can check out his Facebook. He talks about the UFOs disguised as airplanes that spray chemtrails. Who knows? I think there's something to the chemtrails. Put my tinfoil hat on, but and especially with the infrared, where that particular one we just looked at, it seems, what's it seem like? It seems more than plausible, like likely. I'd call it likely. It was obviously some kind of exhaust coming out of this thing, and it's hidden for a reason. You can only see with the infrared, so yeah, there's something going on. Tim wants to know what group, Ted. Ted says a local group called Las Cruces Community Watch. Yeah, hey, this is perfect. This is perfect. If get them here, man. Get them here. We'll talk about that stuff. So you know, like notice we've talked about this before. If you watch the national news, they have their narratives. Okay, it's like government sanctioned, it's propaganda, it's all of that. You have the local news, and they talk about, you know, Jimmy hit Bobby on the corner with his car, and you know, Susie shot Jimmy. You know, like this is what you get in local news. So you see, there's a huge gap between, you know, once in a while on local news you'll get like a actual UFO report or something. You don't really get it on mainstream media unless it's you know, some kind of big story like the To the Stars Academy or something like that. Like that'll get national attention. But otherwise, you see there's a huge gap, right? You know, Jimmy shot Susie, and then To the Stars Academy. But think about all the amazing things in between that don't get talked about. Like that's a group that's perfect, man. Like that's exactly the type of thing we're looking for here. Why we did this, why we took it straight to Facebook, why we took it straight to this community, because we knew you guys would have your finger on the pulse. You would know. Somebody out there would know what's happening. So if you can get them here or get some videos from there or pictures, whatever, we'd love to see that stuff. That would be great. Thanks, Ted. And Kelly says there was one a lady took it in southern Utah that was a UFO in a cloud, but as the cloud as well. Yeah, exactly. I'll get those pictures out. They're on my phone, but you know how it is to get pictures off your phone when you're lazy. Or when you're doing, I'm doing all kinds of things. What I'm talking about, I'm not lazy. Okay, and then Ernie says, I can't wait to see those pics. Yeah, I promise I will not forget. Please remind me, Frank, those UFO cloud photos. It's literally the classic UFO shape. It's amazing. Mark says, oh man, got here late. Hey, you're here, man. That's the important thing. Thanks for showing up. Tim says, I'd watch that. Yeah, I'm talking about the UFO channel, right? Like 24/7 UFO. That would be amazing. Maybe we should, okay, maybe something to add to the list. Ted says, did anyone figure out why Bill Clinton was not allowed to release information on UFOs when he said that he would? I heard something about that. Okay, so, any comment there, Frank, before I go?
I don't think you want my comment if you want me to stay apolitical. So
no, go. We don't have to stay apolitical.
Yeah, I think he was lying through his teeth as usual, because that's the typical thing that these people do, and it was just a distraction, something they throw out there every once in a while to push issues away from whatever's facing them at the time. So, yeah, I don't think they ever had any intention of releasing any disclosure, and they just say these things from time to time to trip the narrative and trigger things and make the media focus on something else every once in a while.
Yeah, it's kind of like their study groups where they say, okay, we need this many of this particular minority votes to increase us by 0.02%. So you need to say these three things to get that particular group, and they it's the same thing with like the the quote UFO group or the quote tinfoil hat group. It's the same thing, right? Like they kind of throw it out to get support, but I'm not so sure they're actually ever trying to do that stuff. Interestingly, so listen to, if you guys, okay, so I've talked about this guy quite a bit, and I keep talking about this guy to Frank. If you haven't heard of the Black Vault, check this guy out. It's very, very, very good, and he's got some guests on there that were talking about this, specifically about Bill Clinton and why he didn't release this information. And their theory was that he it was set up to be released on Hillary's watch. So it was like a tease to something that would come later, and they completely assumed that Hillary would slam dunk this. And part of that was the To the Stars Academy. So it was actually like part of the whole thing where it was going to be, she would be the disclosure president as the first female president. But of course, as we all know, those plans went wildly awry. So. And now the speculation there from the guest that he had on I can't remember which episode. The guy's amazing. His name is John Greenwald Jr. He does the Black Vault, and he does nothing but FOIA requests, which is the Freedom of Information Act. Okay, so he he gets actual government documents, and he's got millions of pages on his website, theblackvault.com. So check it out. But he basically said that, or one of his guests said, not he himself, but one of his guests said that his theory was that he they had set it up for Hillary to be the disclosure president, and that was to the Stars Academy. It was supposed to be hand in hand. But now, because Donald Trump's president, they don't want to give it to him. And so, partisan, I don't know. You tell me. It was a like a long-time researcher's theory, like UFO researcher. I can't remember the guy's name, but anyway, so very, 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 very good. If you know, I get a lot of information from there, and I'm not sure if Frank listens to that or not, but it's good, guys. If you want other stuff to listen to, the guy's very good. He does all kinds of topics, and you know, it's documents from the government. He talks about how you yourself can get documents from the government, and I think that's amazing. So if you want to
Speaking of the Black Vault guy, we actually have a UFO video that was sent to him and that he put on the internet. I don't know if we want to take a look at that. So this was a UFO video sent to him by a friend of them crossing the moon, and it's pretty crazy. And he actually goes and he does some of this analysis we're talking about, where he rules out balloons crossing the moon, he rules out birds crossing the moon, and he rules out a bunch of things. So these are true unidentified flying objects. So I'm going to pull that up.
Let's play it. Action. Okay, so we see the moon from the top, kind of heading down. You see like a little speck. It's definitely an object that's very large in relation to the size of the moon. Oh, and another one. Okay. And another one. Oh, holy moly. It's like a... Now there's a ton. There's a dozen more maybe. And they're just moving from the top right to the bottom left across the moon. And it looks like if the moon were like a bagel, these are like sesame seeds. Yeah, I like sesame seeds. Bagels, they're good. But yeah, 3 dozen maybe more. So there you go. This is from a guy that you know, is mostly skeptical in his approach, because he likes to go to the government documents. He likes to say, hey, look, I know about this, tell me more about this topic. And they do, you know, like he's been wrangling with the CIA about more documents regarding MK Ultra. So this is one of those guys, like you know, he's more of a like the, you know, if like you got the skeptic, like the total skeptics of 1 and like the total tinfoil hat guys 100, I'd say I would rate this guy probably about like a 35 on the skeptic side. Like he's open to these type of things, but it seems like he's more rooted in the documents themselves, the government documents. So you know what I mean? So when he's talking about these types of things, I'll play this again, mute it real quick, but when he's talking about UFOs, you know, he asks some very good skeptical questions, which I think you should ask. But you know, him leaning on the government document side of things, looking at this, you know, and him releasing this, here it is, TBV, the Black Vault Investigations Case Number 257854, theblackvault.com. And there's dozens of these things, and they are fast. So Tim Taylor says those were fast, and they are. They're moving very quickly. What do you make of this, Frank?
Yeah, so he's ruled out satellites because if you pay attention to the video, if you just loop it a few times, you can see them moving on a non-straight trajectory. So a satellite crossing would go straight. Like it wouldn't move to the left or the right. It wouldn't curve in any way. It would be perfectly straight. So he's ruled that out. He said these could be birds or bats crossing the moon, but if you on his website, he does a little bit of analysis to show that that's unlikely to be true. So these aren't birds or bats migrating and someone's picking them up. As well as he looked at things like balloons. That could be, maybe there was some kind of party in the neighborhood next to where this was taken, and these are balloons up in the atmosphere going across, but he's ruled that out as well. So again, this is the critical type of analysis that is good to have for these videos. And these are, I think, true unidentified flying objects. There's really no indication of what they could be.
Yeah, they are kind of moving in a kind of a like a zigzag type motion. Like it's very subtle, but they're definitely not moving in straight lines. It's kind of like a, you know, just a very, very slight zigzag. So many, like dozens. And then they just stop. So at the end of that video, it looks like there's one last one and they stop. I'm going to play one more time. But what do you guys think? Tim says that's amazing. Yeah, I agree. What do you think they are? Could they be bats? I keep hearing this when I see these things. People say bats. And when I see this, if anybody's ever seen a bat in their whole life, they don't move anything like this. There's no way. They don't move any kind of straight lines because, you know, they're zigzagging. It's like their natural defense thing. They don't want to get hit by...
They stay close to the ground, too, because they're hunting for insects to feed themselves. So they're not way up in the atmosphere because there's no bugs up there.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Maybe some kind of debris falling. Is that possible? But they're very shaped the same way. What would you say?
Uniform in shape. If it was debris, you'd expect it would be chaotic, like a big piece here, a small piece here, maybe some fire trails following it if it's something breaking up in the top of the atmosphere. But these are very uniform, very precise, seemingly organized.
And yeah, traveling the same direction, almost like a flock would travel, or like an armada, or like a fleet. Let's say. But yeah. Anyway, what do you guys think? One more time. This is live, so this is a free for all. Whatever you guys want to talk about, we're into it. So 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link. We're doing a chat on YouTube as well. So if you want Frank to read your chat, type it over there, and Frank will read your chat. So whatever. What do you guys want to talk about? Are we on the right track here? Are we doing some good stuff? Are we doing some bad stuff? What are we doing? How we look? I wonder how we look. A couple more comments here. Tim says, we are not alone. It sure seems like it, right? This video is creepy. And then Kimberly says, maybe the moon is a giant mothership, and those are smaller ships being released from it. That's a theory. That's a theory, right? We've talked about that quite a bit. At least on the moon show, we talked about the moon being hollow, ringing like a bell. Right there, Frank? You remember that one?
Yeah, there's so much that points to the gravitational distribution of the moon, that it's not one solid structure, that it's actually less dense in the center than it is on the outside. And when, I believe it was, what was that quote from? That was an asteroid that struck the moon, and the moon as a whole, I think that's the quote, is it rang like a bell. So it was as if it was hollow inside, ringing like a bell, instead of just a solid chunk of rock being impacted by this asteroid. So there's definitely something there. And there's a whole whack of theories about holographic projection. The moon doesn't actually look like it looks, and it's in fact some kind of projection over top. I don't know if you recall that scan line that we kind of saw crossing the moon, and that was pretty creepy. So,
I do. So it was kind of like a, like you would get on some kind of projection, like some kind of projection type of effect. It kind of had a warble to it. That was not necessarily a atmospheric warble. So if you guys are interested in that, we did a moon show. It was like our second or third show, and the audio is probably terrible, but I stand by the content because I thought it was a good show. We're a little raw, a little less practiced, but I think the content is there. So if you guys want to see some stuff about the moon, we talked about that. We talked about it possibly being hollow, maybe being some kind of space station. So yeah, Kimberly, your theory there is not too far out from some of the things that have been said. So yeah, good stuff there. Tim says the ISS moon video is similar to this, I think. The UFO. Yeah, it could be. I haven't seen that one, but yeah, definitely. And then Kimberly says, I don't know, I have a wild imagination. You know what? Continue with your wild imagination, because that's what builds worlds. That's why we do this. That's why we do this. What about wild imaginations, Frank? I know you got something to say.
Yeah, there's a small rant there, because think about it. You can be saying one thing, right? You can have this particular point of view, and this is in the abstract, but you can have a particular point of view. And if every other single person in the world has a different point of view, it does not matter if your point of view is empirically true. Does that make sense? So, what was that guy? Galileo, or not Galileo? The guy who said that I'm losing my history here, but the guy that said the Earth orbited the sun rather than the sun orbiting the Earth, right? Everyone thought he was crazy. Everyone thought he was full of it. But his point of view was correct, and that's what we have now. We have the truth because of him, whereas the church was, really upset at him, like saying all this nonsense. And It doesn't matter, because if your point of view is true and everyone else's point of view is false, it does not matter, because you have the truth and everyone else has a bunch of bullshit. Does that make sense? So I think we live in this society where the consensus view is important, but the consensus view is nonsense. It has no bearing in reality whatsoever. If you're correct, you're correct, and that's all there is to it.
Agreed. Yeah, well put. Just because the world's cascading you with propaganda doesn't mean that your thoughts are invalid. Very good point. All right, so Tim says maybe these moon UFOs are why the observatory was shut down. Maybe, though I know they're recent, but that was a solar observatory, so maybe it's some kind of relation. I know we had some moon crossing the sun. Remember that there, Frank? I think you said you debunked yourself on that. But there was some kind of action where there was these huge shadows crossing the sun that looked like a moon from one direction and then another direction. And the explanation, I think, from NASA, correct me if I'm wrong, was that the thing that was taking the photographs was on one side of the sun, and then it reversed to the other, and then so it got the moon twice in two different directions, something like that.
Yeah, I believe that was right. It's from a satellite way far out in orbit, orbiting the Earth, and so it just caught the moon on one side of the Earth and then on the other side. So it seemingly looked like the moon approaching from one side, then the moon approaching from the other. That was an early theory, and I think that's been crossed out by now.
Okay, fair enough. And then Tim says the same can be said about meteorites. And I mean, we have meteorites every single day. It's one of those things, like we can't, you can't call everything a meteorite when there's some anomalous stuff like that. Like definitely those things crossing the moon in that video, not meteorites. No way. No way in hell. Not satellites. It's anomalous. It's definitely UFOs. There's no doubt about that. And again, so okay, let's clarify. When you talk about, if I say to you guys, UFO, what does that mean? Is that one of those things where you're like, aliens, little green men, greys, reptilians? Or does that just mean, holy smokes, these are anomalous objects, and we don't know what they are? You know what I mean? Like, those are two wildly different takes on the same thing, but, I know what the mainstream media would say. I know Frank knows. What would they say, Frank?
Yeah, I think they would. I think this idea that UFOs have to be aliens is in part propagated by the mainstream media to discredit the entire thing. But other than that, the mainstream media would probably say, "Oh, pareidolia," or something like that. You don't know what you're talking about. You're ignorant. Shut up.
Right. Or look at these stupid people. They believe in little green men or whatever. Yeah. I mean, exactly. So Tim says it's unidentified. Exactly. And so like at that point, when you have an actual anomalous, unidentified flying object, it doesn't mean little green men necessarily, right? There's 1,000 other things it could actually be, but it's anomalous and like begs another look, I would think. And yeah, so credit to again, the Black Vault. If you guys aren't familiar, his podcast is top notch, spot on. So check him out. And that video was great find, Frank. Tim says, definitely too slow for meteorites. Yeah, oh yeah, too many of them, like all going the same direction, all the same size. It's just, it doesn't make sense. None of that makes sense. None of the actual, explain this stuff away makes sense for that. But, okay, so, what else we got? What else you got there, Frank? Anything else? I can jump in, we got tons of stuff. We got tons of stuff to talk about. Let's see. All right. Multiple UFOs. Here we go. Oh, I like this one. Did you see the Earth is wobbling more than it should? You see that one, Frank? Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Tim says, I meant them being some sort of ship. Yeah, of course. Like they're definitely not ducks or meteorites or it's again unidentified. So it's just yeah, they're not explained away easily, and so it begs the question why we're talking about it. So okay, this one I thought was pretty funny. So reported by BGR.com, The Earth is wobbling more than it should, and humans are likely the cause. I'm going to pause and let that sink in. This is written by somebody named Mike Wiener. Is that how you say it? Wenner. W-E-H-N-E-R. Okay, here we go. When looking at the Earth from afar, it appears to be a perfect sphere. And that actually isn't the case, because Earth isn't uniform on all sides due to land masses that shift and change over time. Our planet actually wobbles a bit when it spins. Now, a new study by researchers with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory and several universities and science centers has pinpointed the cause of Earth's imperfect spin called polar motion. And they found that humans are contributing to it. Pause. Let that sink in. Am I being silly and laughing at this, Frank? What are we dancing too hard? Causing the Earth to wobble? What's going on here? Okay. Nothing? Frank? Okay. So the researchers used a wealth of data gathered over 100 years to build mathematical models to trace the causes of the wobble and found that 3 factors are at play, and mankind is responsible for one of them. 2 of the 3 factors identified by the scientists are glacial rebound and mantle convection. Okay, let's see. So the effects of the last ice age, mantle convection. The third and final factor identified by the scientists is a massive loss of ice on Greenland and other areas, which is the direct result of global warming thanks to human activities. Okay, so not only... Okay, I don't know. We lose Frank. I don't hear Frank. We lost Frank. He went, nope, I'm not doing that story. Okay, I'm reading some comments. So not only are we causing the Earth to warm up, we're melting the things, the ice caps, and the seas are rising. New York's underwater, and now we're causing additional wobble on the Earth. Okay, anyway, I thought it was funny. Tim says HARP and CERN messing with the Earth. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff happening, right? And I think part of the solar observatory, I've heard scalar waves being a thing where they're actually causing actual what would you call it? Sun. What are those things that pop off the sun? Solar flares.
Coronal mass ejections.
There you go. Coronal mass ejections. Wow, Frank's back. Hey, what's up, Frank? Tim says Frank fell asleep. Lol. Nope, he's back. I think he disconnected. Yeah, there you go. So scalar waves. I think that's one theory that I heard about the why they shut that stuff down. So it's supposed to be super top secret, and if you talk about it, you'll get redacted from the internet and maybe arrested. I don't know. I don't want to push that too far, but that's one theory that I heard. Kelly says now maybe because of the huge dam, water dam in China. Which part, Kelly? Have you seen that? No, I don't know what you're talking about. And then, yeah, Frank fell asleep. Thanks, Tim. Frank did something. Frank disconnected. You back, Frank? Are we good?
Back. Technical difficulties, right?
Okay.
It happens from time to time. It's been blessedly good so far.
Okay. It's a, live show. This stuff happens. But yeah, it's okay. We didn't get too far. I just kept it saying, Frank, save me, Frank. And then, bam, you came back and saved me. Coronal mass ejections caused by scalar waves. So anyway, yeah, the huge water dam in China. I do not know, Kelly. I have not heard of that. You got a link? We can talk about it. Otherwise, I was talking about the Earth wobbling more because of humans there, Frank. I thought maybe you just rage quit. You're like, forget this. I'm not talking about this. I'm out of here. But okay, we can move on from that one. Yeah, Tim says Frank teleported to the mothership. That could be. Maybe the powers that be knocked him offline because they're like, no, he knows too much. He's got all the answers. We can't have him here. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We've had some creepy stuff happen, right? We had the one commenter talking about the Vatican and being censored on the fly. So there is, you sound crazy when you talk about this kind of stuff, but there is censorship going on. And these things are picking up what you're saying. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're on a list somewhere and someone's listening in. If you are, leave a comment. We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, totally. So, and I know we've had, Kelly's had comments redacted in real time through Facebook, so it's happened. We've got witnesses and other witnesses in the same stream that said, no, I didn't see that comment either. So, yeah, it's happening. Call it a technical glitch, though, Facebook prides itself on 100% uptime. So I'm not sure how the comments don't get 100% uptime either. Except I have an idea. But okay, anyway. What's up, Carlton? He says, I missed it. No, man. No, come on. We have dozens of episodes you can go back. If you want to binge us, I don't even know how many days or weeks you could binge us straight. So we got lots of hours, man. You didn't miss anything. We're still here for you. So we got 20 minutes left. If you guys want to give us a call, talk about whatever you want to talk about, 702-957-1037. We're talking about UFOs. We're talking about the sunspot solar observatory shutdown. We're talking about what else are we talking about? We're talking about global warming. We're talking not really the Earth wobbling due to global warming.
Just a note on that, on this dam, because I love these engineering documentaries. I watch them all the time, but there is a real concern about this dam causing problems, because this thing, the Three Gorges Dam, the water that it's holding back will weigh 42 billion tons. And so that's quite a huge amount of water. And over time, day by day, year by year, this 42 billion tons of water, I wouldn't be surprised if it does impact the Earth or the climate or something in some way.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, we continually, what would you call it? It's geoengineering, right? Like one way or the other, like whether it's the aerosol spray in the clouds, or shooting lasers to cause rain, which is a thing. It's an actual thing. If you want to look it up, if you want to get into that, we can. There's tons of stuff happening where they're actually controlling the weather. The scalar waves. We talked about the blast from Antarctica that possibly busted up that hurricane in Hawaii. There's a ton of stuff that's actually happening in that regard. So scary stuff, I would say. So yeah, you can't really discount that. But yeah, good point. All right, what are we looking at, Frank? What do you want to do here?
We got some more UFO videos that are pretty interesting. Why don't you pull this one up here? The 100% genuine UFO video from Banbury in the UK.
All right, let's find it. 100%. There we go. All right, here we go. Pulled up and action. More UFOs, guys. Looks like a snake in the sky. It's kind of like a long, maybe not as long as a snake.
Go away, Fry.
Okay. It's kind of just floating up there. It's cigar shaped, for sure. It looked like it had like either like a spin or like a glint on the sun.
Yeah, again, these things, I wonder if aviation is in part restricted because of people like me. Because if I had a plane in my backyard and I saw this thing over top of me, I'd be hopping in my plane, I'd be beelining it straight for this thing, as close as I can get to see what it is. And maybe they don't want people like me up in the sky, because that's how you got to tell with these things. You got to eyeball them. You got to get close. You got to take a look. You got to figure out what it is. And
it's just staying there
in one
place. Been there for ages.
Well, and then we get pilots that do it, and they shut them up, or they lose their jobs, ruin their families, starve them out.
Mate. It's the Russians.
Yeah. So these guys are saying this thing's been up there for a very long time, in the same spot, just kind of floating.
That's a superb UFO.
Cigar-shaped, very far out there.
Cigar-shaped.
See?
Wow. It might be just a saucer sit on its side.
Yeah, you did see the glint of light off the edges of it, so it's not one of these invisible UFOs, it's one of the more visible UFOs. Again, so the dichotomy between these things, I don't even understand.
Yeah, so it almost looked like it spun, or exactly like there was some kind of glint, light glinting off of it. So it was like almost metallic.
I ain't got time to set up the tripod.
There you go. So you see, okay, this guy's got a tripod, and you see how sloppy that video was. This is how difficult it is to get with, you know, standard cameras without, you know, with actual like you know, what would you call AI tracking on things to get, you know, like perfect actual images of these things or perfect perfect video. It's tough. It's tough. Have you guys ever tried to take a picture of the moon in the sky, even when it's huge with your camera? It's difficult to get a good picture, right? Because you have to zoom the hell out of it. Like the human eye kind of I don't know if it's like an optical illusion. Does it compensate for what's going on? But it seems huge, and then you get a camera on this thing and it like is, you know, tiny. It just doesn't make sense, right? Seems weird. You got to super zoom in. Explain to me what I'm seeing here, Frank. Like save me again.
I have no idea. It's, as this gentleman said, it's a UFO, not aliens, not necessarily, but an unidentified flying object. And I think you're right about that. Is there was this phenomena way back when with the CSI shows, the crime scene investigation shows, where it became so popular, these crime scene investigation shows, that juries in the real world would want the type of evidence they see on these shows. They would want the enhanced images. They would want the fingerprints and the blood samples and the DNA. They would want all these unreasonable things because they saw them on television. But the real world doesn't work like television. And I think that Hollywood movies are having the same effect on the UFO, I guess, industry. Is Hollywood movies have this perfectly stabilized shot, perfectly zoomed in, perfectly in detail, in frame, with things in the background to, you know, compare it for size. But the real world doesn't work like that. The real world happens quick. You're just a person, you have a camera on your phone, you pull it out, and it's going to be shaky. And I think to delegitimize these videos because they're shaky is ridiculous. It's not the real world. No, and again, so this guy has a tripod. So imagine just holding this thing in your hand without a tripod. How shaky it would be beyond that. It would be crazy. It would be, you know, 10 times worse. But this is still shaky as hell. But yeah, what do you think? Is this real? Is this legit? Is this something that should be followed up on? Is this something that should be reported to MUFON and the other UFO databanks? What do you guys think? Brett says, sunspot. The sun's probably a Stargate. I've heard that. I think Kelly's talked about that quite a bit, and you know, some kind of action going on with the sun itself. And UFOs moving in and out, maybe refueling, using it as a Stargate. What would you call those things? You know what they're called there, Frank? I got a word for it. It's buried deep in the recesses. But there's a word for it. It's like a wormhole, maybe. Yeah, kind of like a wormhole, but not. There's an actual name for it, like an actual sun, like a sun hole. Anyway, okay. So Tim says, can I send you guys my UFO video for next Tuesday? It was caught at the end of the news. Yeah, man, send it. You can send it to what would it be? troubledmindsradio@gmail.com. Send us that thing, and we'll play it. We'll play it for everybody. We'll talk about it. Fred says that's a cool video. I agree. There's something wacky going on there, right? Definitely a UFO, which again, remember, does not mean little green men. That's like the that's the smear term. That's the oh, you believe in UFOs? Ha. Yeah, smear term. You know, of course, I believe in unidentified flying objects because there's lots of things in the sky we don't know what they are. Doesn't mean they're little green men. Come on, guys. So you know, we all know that. Go ahead, Frank. You're dying to say something here. Yeah. Again, all we can do is look at these things and judge them on their merits. And I think this. We were talking about this before, but there's no real central repository anymore for all these UFO videos. There's a couple of them here, a couple of them sprinkled over there, you know, a few of them here. But there's no place where someone can look at all these things together and truly be awed by the amount of them, right? Because in your day-to-day, you'll see, you know, a video here, a video there. But there's thousands, there's hundreds of thousands of these videos. So I think if they were kind of collated and organized and presented in a nice timeline on a single page somewhere on the internet, the evidence would shine through because, yeah, I think people don't take them seriously. They see one or two and they're like, yeah, whatever. But when you start looking for them and you see how many of them there are, it's amazing. There's just so many of them. Yeah, lots of stuff out there. Brad says, I'm wondering if corn is used to build these UFOs. It's one of the only foods to go through our whole digestive system and come out fine, and maybe the aliens do crop circles to mark the batch. Maybe. I'm open to all that. I've never heard that. That's amazing.
and they seem to have some kind of preoccupation or what am I trying to say? Preoccupation with cornfields, which is where the crop circles tend to happen. So maybe that may be something to look into. If you haven't seen our crop circle video, you should go back and look at that. We did some interesting things, and there's scientists that actually go through and do some scientific tests on the crop circles themselves. So if you haven't seen it, it's a pretty good one, I think. Check it out, Brad. Thanks for the comment. Kimberly says, I've seen more UFOs near Lake Michigan in my home state, Wisconsin, than I've seen anywhere else. And I've lived in 4 different states. I currently live in Ohio and have only seen 1 UFO so far. I've lived here for a couple of years, and currently I don't live near by any large body of water. Yeah, you know what? I think there seems to be some kind of correlation there with bodies of water and UFOs. You get a lot on the Pacific Ocean. That seems to be like one of the big hotspots, right? Definitely. And then Kimberly continues, I've seen UFOs take off from and land on water in Lake Michigan. Yeah. It seemed, like I said, if I was trying to make a UFO base and hide from people, it'd be underwater. It's one of the hardest places for us to actually get data from. 95% of the Earth is water or something like that, and we've explored like 5% of all of that or something. It's ridiculous. We just don't know anything about the world we live on, and most of that is because of the water, because there's so much water is here. All the huge oceans and how deep they are and all that. You guys know. I don't have to tell you, but yeah. And you've seen them take off and land on water. There you go. What do you think, Frank?
Now, let me test your ears with this theory. There's this theory that these UFOs, all these shapes, they're not actually from outer space. Okay? There's a theory that these things are just dimensional objects. They're a civilization adjacent to us in another dimension, perhaps, that's crossing over and taking a look about. And I think a lot of this comes from the fact that these things aren't visible in the light spectrum. They're invisible. And so they seem to have these dimensional shifting properties where they appear and then they disappear. I don't know. What do you think about that? That these aren't actually aliens from outer space, but they're aliens from a different dimension, perhaps. I've heard this theory floated around a bit.
With the whole what would you call it? The multiverse. I think it's a thing. We're so smug in that we know everything, as humans, and here we are on our little planet, which is like not even a pinprick in our own universe. So like to say that we know anything about our own planet is kind of LOL, and then to say that we know anything beyond our own planet is double LOL. It just gets bigger and bigger. So if there's an actual multiverse, of course it's a possibility. Of course it's one of those things where we've talked about we talked about the last show we talked about attacking these interdimensional type aliens with a samurai sword because bullets don't work for some reason. It's a thing, right? So what's happening here? Is it because the only thing I can think of is because they're not physical beings. They're not flesh and blood of this earth like we are, and so maybe they can phase in and out. Maybe when they're close to you, they phase in because they want to attack you. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I've never seen one myself, so I can't weigh in on that with a personal actual anecdote. But you know what I'm saying? It seems like it's possible to me that they could cruise in and out of the dimensions for sure. In and out of the multiverse and disappear. I mean, we have a lot of if you go through all the UFO reports, there's a lot of stuff that happens where these things just disappear. Like they're right in front of you. They're there. They're on video, and you snap your fingers. Boom, they're gone. They don't fly away. They just literally fade into nothing. So if that's not some kind of cloaking device, what is that? Are they fading into another dimension, another universe? Have they mastered that technology? You got me.
Yeah, I don't know. I bring this up just to kind of reinforce your point that we really don't know what these things are. We don't know if UFOs are aliens. We don't know if they're military projects. We don't know. All we know is that They're unidentified things in the air, and it's a shame we haven't shot one down with a RPG yet.
I think we did in Roswell, right? It just got covered up and smeared and hoaxed and everything else after that. Kimberly says, yes, I'm 100% convinced they are interdimensional. It seems like, right? It seems like a lot of the things that, a lot of the information kind of validates that in a lot of ways. So, we'll say plausible, likely on that. Yeah, my take anyway. And then Brad says, number one hotshot is Chile. Chile? The country? I'm not sure what that means. And then yeah, Kimberly says rather than intergalactical. Yeah, it seems like, right? And then Kelly, here we go. He's going all Stranger Things on us. He says they're from the Upside Down. Yeah, maybe from the Upside Down. I don't even know what's real anymore. Help me, Frank. All right, so hey guys, we got about 5-10 minutes left here. We're gonna wind this down, but if you want to call in, please call us. Let us know what's up. Feedback on the show is good. If you want to talk about whatever we've been talking about, that's also good. All of the things are good. Whatever you want to say, we want to hear it. So again, we do this to be transparent, just like we've always said. The government hides things. We want to talk about things, and we want to be transparent. If you think we're full of crap, give us a call. If you agree, give us a call. If it's somewhere in between, give us a call. It all adds up, and it all adds to the conversation. So that's why we do it. That's why we bring it to you guys. Like we've said a dozen times, we'll say a dozen more. Frank and I could just be on Skype, yucking it up, talking about this, with our two selves, and it would be great, but it wouldn't be as great if we didn't include you guys. So please give us a call. Hop on Discord real quick. We got a few minutes left if you want to be on the show, and we can do that. But otherwise, some business to take care of here. So it looks like probably I'm personal wise. I know nobody. This stuff is boring stuff, but it's a possible career change for me. So we may need to take a couple shows off here because I'm in the middle of some things. So we're definitely gonna cancel Thursday's show. Sorry for the bad news, and possibly Sunday. I'm gonna try and make it back by Sunday. But if we can't, then you'll definitely see us on Tuesdays. So yeah. So I apologize for the bad news, but real life happens. We are committed to this show. We're committed to putting out good content. We're committed to talking to you guys and taking your ideas. So yeah. So don't be deterred. Don't be disturbed. It's okay. We'll be back. But we're gonna skip Thursday. We're gonna possibly skip Sunday. I'll try and make Sunday, and then we'll definitely be back Tuesday for sure. So there we go. There's some housekeeping. I'll put a post on Facebook this time, so people aren't looking for us, wondering what happened. But nobody got abducted, and nobody's in danger that I know of yet currently. So there we go. There's some housekeeping. But what else you got, Frank? What do you want to add here?
Yeah, you were mentioning earlier transparency, how important it is for these government agencies and NASA in particular to be transparent. And I think we have a beautiful example of what NASA could be in this Japanese space agency Hayabusa lander. So they've actually set up a web page. I think you got the link there if you want to click through it on the screen. But they've set up this web page. They show pictures of the asteroid that this Hayabusa lander landed on. They show close-up images. They actually have a status report where it's like a mirror of the signal coming from this thing, so you can actually see the fluctuations in the signal to this rover. You've got pictures of their approach, pictures of their practice approach. You've got everything you could ask for. So looking at this website, I think it's worth your time. It's www.hayabusa, Hayabusa 2. Just Google Hayabusa 2 and you'll see it. But they've got pictures, they've got thermal imaging of this asteroid. So interestingly, this thing's not ice cold. It's actually 100 degrees in the sun and 20 degrees room temperature in the shadow. But they've got so much detail here that NASA in their wildest dreams would never, ever, ever give us. And this is a shining example to me of what we need to be doing, is giving these details to the public as they happen. And that's probably the most important part, is they're updating this thing on a regular basis, showing us all these details. And it's fascinating to see this, to scroll through this website and look at all the details they're giving us. I don't know if you've had a chance to click through it, but what do you think of this?
I think it's pretty amazing. It seems like so this is like the stuff we kind of don't get from NASA, right? It seems like they're a ton more transparent than NASA. I mean, we have the approach, we have the images, we have the actual video of the landing, we have actual real high def images of the asteroid itself. It's pretty amazing. Again, so if you guys want these links, go to, I just linked it in the chat here, minds.com. That's where all of this stuff goes. So if you want the news that we talked about, I'm going to pin it. Make sure you follow us on minds.com. So all of this stuff goes there. All of our news, and then even the stuff we don't cover, the news goes up there, because we picked out probably 15 to 20 articles to talk about tonight. But we leave it open. So if you guys want to talk about other things, we stray from what we got and we go to what you got. So there's tons of stuff, and there's tons of stuff that is pretty interesting that you might want to take a look at. So all of that, minds.com, there's the link. Click it, join it, follow us, and you'll see all of our news articles. So even if we don't cover it tonight or the next time, it'll be up there, so you guys can kind of follow what the stuff we think is interesting, and sometimes some comments about why we think it is interesting. And then a couple more comments here. Kimberly says, maybe that's why there's been no disclosure, because they might be worried about people losing their sanity. Yeah, I think you go back to the War of the Worlds and H.G. Wells, the radio program, people committing suicide. I think that's a definite possibility there. And then Brad says, and Chile is the main UFO hotspot. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of stuff coming out of there. So keep an eye on that, guys. If you see anything good, we'll jump on that, and we'll keep an eye. We're doing our best to keep an eye to the ground, see the news that rolls out. And Fred says, "Oh, what? Oh man, yeah, sorry man, real life happens. So got to get it done. And then Kelly says, "Hey man, take care of your business, Mike. Thank you, I appreciate that. I will do." And again, remember, even if we have small delays, guys, my goal eventually is to do this show as much as possible. I told Frank originally I want to do this 5 days a week. And he's all, "You're insane." And I said, "Yes, I am." Because the more the better. The more we talk about this stuff, the better. But it is good to slow down, make sure that we get the quality in there, and we talk about some good things. Larry says, E.T. or Nephilim? That's a good question. That's a whole show right there. Me, myself, I'll go with Nephilim. I'll go with the ancient
I'd say
aliens.
they're both the same thing, right?
Yeah, the same thing.
Ancient cultures misinterpreting E.T. as Nephilim, right? Same thing.
But I'm going with Nephilim because I like the old documents, the old text. I'm gonna go with that. All right. So Fred says, "Now you're talking." Yeah, no. I promise you guys, we're committed to this. We're not going to abandon this show. So we have a little bit of downtime. My apologies. Like I said, real life happens, but we will be back. And hopefully we'll be back with some really good stuff. So remember, we're coming into the Halloween months, the fall season, and all that. So what do you guys think? Should we do a little bit more ghost stories? Do you want some of that stuff, or do you want to just stick with aliens and space? What do you guys think? Again, that's why we do this particular show, because we want to talk about what you guys want to hear in the future too. So what do you think? Aliens, space, ghosts, paranormal? What do you think, Frank?
I think alien ghosts.
Ghosts.
I've seen a few of those things, and they're incredibly creepy. But we'll get to that.
How about the kids, the kids with the black eyes, the black-eyed children? We could do stuff like that. We did Slender Man. We did some other stuff. We did tried to do some spooky stuff. So yeah. Anyway, remember, we're here. We're not going anywhere. So if you miss a day or two, we'll be back. We're committed to this, and we're going to try and make this happen as much as possible. So there we go. Brad says, in a corn crop the quarter of the size of the Amazon rainforest puts out more oxygen than the whole Amazon rainforest altogether. Okay. I'd like to see documents because, we're tinfoil hat types like that. But yeah, I believe you. And Fred says, a little of everything works. Okay, so you guys are okay with some paranormal, some ghost stories a little bit, if we stray off the aliens? It seems like every time we do an alien show, it seems to get the most traction, the most action, the most people watching, the most comments. Of course, it's an alien page, so that makes sense. But are you guys open to paranormal, ghost stories, maybe witchcraft? We talked about doing some maybe live streams with some Ouija boards and some maybe casting some ancient Roman spells. Yeah, what do you think there, Frank?
Yeah, there's so much, and I think that all of these topics in part relate to one another. Like these ancient, stories in the Bible and these ancient historical documents where they describe strange things could in fact be just an ancient interpretation of these modern day UFOs. Like there's, the images with what appear to be helicopters and so on. So I think that divorcing ghosts and UFOs from all these other topics, I think they're all one and the same. I think they all have common threads that lead them towards each other, into perhaps a chilling conclusion that history is not actual history and that it's more of a made-up thing. And I think we're seeing that even now. So I don't know. I'm kind of babbling now, but I think all these things relate to one another more than would be expected.
Okay, agreed. Here we go. A couple more comments and we'll wind this down. Brad says the Chupacabra. Okay, we could do that. Larry says paranormal gadgets, Ovalist. I don't know what that is, but we could look into it. Paranormal stuff is really cool, the EVPs and whatnot. And then Kimberly says, yeah, I have ghost stories. Yeah, let's do it. I'm still waiting for the call, Kimberly. Give us a call. We'd love a ghost story. That'd be awesome. And then Kimberly says, I'm interested in all these topics. Okay. And Tim says, open minds. Perfect. Speaking of open minds, minds.com. That's where all this news goes, guys. So everything that we missed tonight, like I said, we pulled up 15 to 20 documents. So that'll all go up on minds.com. It's links right there. If you want to follow us, that would help. I got one more thing real quick before we do this. We're trying to get traction on reach in a lot of ways. And this one in particular, I'm not sure why. I'm going to link this in the comments. But this episode on YouTube got a bunch of views. And it was our episode 24. It was to the Stars Disclosure Project. If you guys want to help us out, I'm not sure why. Like I don't know if it's because it's Blink 182 or Tom DeLonge, or if it's a particularly good show. You know what I mean? Like when you're creating this stuff, when Frank and I get together and we're talking about it, we talk about what's interesting to us and what we think will be interesting to you. So we don't know what will be interesting to the masses, but it seems like this particular show is getting some traction. In a couple days, it's got 50 views, got a couple thumbs ups, a thumb down, which hurts my heart, but whatever. But if you guys could help, real quick, just go to this, and if you like this show, give it a thumbs up. Maybe it'll kick it up in the YouTube algorithm, and maybe we get some action. So I've linked it in the thing, so if you want to help us out, just click that link and then give it a thumbs up. Maybe leave a comment or two. We got 2 thumbs ups and a thumbs down at this point, and 50 views in a couple days. So that's a good thing. That's for some reason it's YouTube is noticing. I think that's exciting, but I think with your help we could get a little bit better. So, all right, I'm gonna cue the outro here. But there's my blurb about if you guys want to help us out, you know what to do. It's free. And here we go. Outro. I'll read the comments as we go, and then give Frank one more before we go. That's right. All right, so that link there, YouTube. If you want to go there, we'd appreciate it. Leave some comments. Give it a thumbs up if you think it's good. If you think it's bad, we'll take the thumbs down too. That's all good. Kimberly says, Smiley, thank you. We appreciate that. Brad says, I saw a doco on the corn. What on earth? I'm not... Oh, a documentary. I'm dumb. Sorry. Yeah. Check out our show too. It's pretty good. Frank says, or Fred says, great show, guys. Thank you. Appreciate that. Brad says, great show, boys. Appreciate that. And then in reference to these two. Okay. We're all caught up. All right. Winding this down. So here's Frank one last time. Remember, guys, so we won't be here on Thursday. We will be here possibly Sunday and definitely Tuesday. So there you go. And Tim says that all publicity is good publicity. I agree. I absolutely agree. All right. Any last words, Frank?
Yeah, we'll be back. Don't worry. Wading through the muck and the mire, slowly going insane, trying to figure out how the world works and how all these pieces fit together in an imaginary puzzle. But we'll be back. We enjoy doing this and we enjoy talking to you, so stay tuned.
There you go. Stay tuned. So here we go. One love from Kimberly. Appreciate that every time. Right back at you. Kelly says, okay, see you guys next Tuesday. Yes, we will be there. So check in Sunday. I'll leave a note on Facebook if we can't make Sunday, but I'm going to try Sunday. If we can't, definitely Tuesday. You guys are amazing. Thanks for sticking with us one more time. If you want to help us out, you know what to do. Go to minds.com. Go to that YouTube link. leave some comments, a thumbs up, and we'll keep on trucking, and we'll keep doing what we do and try and get some good content out. So appreciate you, all of you guys, and you're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. I'm here with your co-host, Frank Pierce. And from our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.